Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up for Friday, November 15th, 2019, the WNW 410. And I want to start with the impeachment, although I'm not going to spend most of my time on this impeachment thing, okay? And I'm sorry, I shouldn't even dignify it by calling it impeachment. I should call it what it is: a frame job, a witch hunt, a scam, a deep state CIA psyop. I mean, it's a total frame job, scam, witch hunt. And I just wanted to touch on this. I mean, listen, what Donald Trump asked about was a couple of things that they went crazy over. They asked about crowdsource. You know, the people, the people that have the server, which is now we find out, according to Kevin Schiff, it's over in Ukraine. The company is over in Ukraine. I mean, there is so much kickback and scam and corruption going on with American officials. I mean, Hillary Clinton getting $14 million to her total scam charity fraud, and Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, and now there's other big players involved. Nancy Pelosi's kids got some interest over there. Mitt Romney has an associate that's tied in, and I wonder if all this foreign aid, which Donald Trump wants to do away with a lot of it, and I wonder if this whole foreign aid, no matter what the country, is nothing more than a big, elaborate kickback scheme of taxpayer money. Oh, we'll give you this foreign aid, but you have to give the money to my campaign or my foundation, or give my son a job, or give my daughter a job, or slide some money over into this little little money cesspool that I have with another family man, whatever. I mean, that's clearly what happened in Ukraine. And here we have more documents released, which is documents released by Ukrainian General Prosecutor's Office reveal millions funneled to Hunter Biden. We know that. And John Kerry, the John Kerry family. Well, what do you know? That more people connected to what? Kickbacks and bribes and graft and corruption. Documents released this evening tie millions from foreign sources to the Hunter Biden, Devon Archer, and John Kerry and his family. So, I mean, yeah, they're going to fight like everything. This idea that this is some kind of impeachment process, this is a scam process. This is a psyop process. This is a frame job process, just like all the other witch hunt scams that the Democrats have been foisting on the American public, meanwhile not doing their jobs. They're trying to stay out of jail, folks. Oh, and incidentally, the Attorney General said the release of FISA is imminent. I've heard that FISA is going to be much bigger than just the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act court, the FISA court, much more detailed than that. And I wonder if Lindsey Graham wasn't told, don't do an investigation while don't. So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. But this is big. And it's going to be just the idea that they used a dossier paid for by Hillary Clinton, who took over the DNC, and then used it to fraudulently apply for spy warrants in a FISA court to spy on the incoming president, his campaign, his transition team, and his actual beginning of his tenure in office is outrageous treason, seditious crimes. So they're fighting like crazy. And Dan Bongino is listening tonight, says, listen, all these people involved in this were involved in the takedown, the framing of President Trump. And, listen, I think a lot of these people make a lot of money with this whole kickback scheme of our foreign aid in multiple countries. And we're only talking about Ukraine in this case, not China. And what did Hunter Biden and his company do for $1.5 billion in China? What did they do for that? Sell us out? I think so. And then you have this attorney, which just broke a while ago. This is October 6th of this year. And this was the attorney for impeachment whistleblower Mark Zaid, actively sought Trump administration informants. He had a nonprofit at the beginning of Trump's presidency. Zaid co-founded Whistleblower Aid, a small nonprofit that blasted advertisements around D.C., actively seeking whistleblowers during the beginning of the Trump administration. Okay? Now that's important, folks. Because, Don Jr.'s out saying that, about when he leaked this name, Eric, what's his name? And, Eric Charlie. And he says, they're not outraged I leaked the name. They're outraged that they can do some research. I mean, this guy had connections with Biden. He has connections with Ukraine. He has connections with the do not prosecute list. Vovanovich is testifying Friday. She had a do not prosecute list. I mean, there was so much corruption and so much going on with the former president Poroshenko. And now the new guy is taken over. And of course, he says that there was, nothing going on. Everything was fine. They didn't hold us up. The foreign minister did what? No, that didn't happen. No, they wanted us to look into it, of course, but we got the aid, and that wasn't contingent on that. I mean, there's nothing there, folks. Just other than that, we want to impeach him because we can't win. I mean, AOC is saying basically she revealed that we can stop future problems. Like what, the president winning in 2020. And then, Don Jr. is talking about how, that this whistleblower pays people's mortgages. Okay, it's outrageous. And he says, of course, the media doesn't report on any of this. I mean, what do we have? We have a propaganda machine. That's what we have. These folks are involved in the coup, in the frame job, in the psyop, in the thought shaping. The mainstream media, I mean, remember I told you about the Sorensen School, it's the first 100 days of Donald Trump's office, and basically about 3 or 4 of the entities had 90% negative stories, and, it ended up being, a lot of negative stories. I bet you it's up 100%. I bet you CBS is 100%. I'll bet you NBC is 100%. I'll bet you CNN's 100% negative stories. I'll bet you that CNN, all these, I bet you all, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, well, not Wall Street Journal, but some, but Washington Post. I mean, all these big entities, dying legacy media entities, are probably near 100% negative stories for Donald Trump and his administration. Oh, and incidentally, did you see what happened to the earnings of the Gray Lady, the New York Times? Their paper sales are off by nearly 10%, and their online sales are off, I don't know, 13, 15%. People are buying that. I suspect it's like that with all the newspapers, and I say good riddance. I mean, this isn't a fair and free press. This is an unfair and propaganda press. But Don Jr. brought that up, and he says that this author, this anonymous author. I mean, I actually saw one op-ed piece saying, well, anonymous isn't great, but it's good for, in a town of a bunch of cowards, anonymous is not so bad. No, you can make up anything you want when you're anonymous. You can say anything you want. You can make up anything you want, and nobody can hold you accountable if you're anonymous. It's just super unfair, and yet the mainstream media changes the rules of journalism and fairness because, well, they have to win, and it's their duty to drive Donald Trump out of office, which is outrageous. But can you believe that? They pay the mortgages of these whistleblowers. And I don't know if this is above board. I don't know if this is a not-for-profit, bona fide entity that's, what they're doing is they're paying people to get out there and frame the president. Listen, if Eric Charlie, I'm saying his name wrong on purpose, I know what it is. If Eric Charlie gets put under the microscope like Lindsey Graham wants to put him under the microscope, he's in trouble. He's going to have a lot of explaining to do about what happened, what it went on in Ukraine and with Biden and his family and all the other stuff. So it's... and a lot of people think that they're going to, Nancy Pelosi's going to allow the impeachment vote to go ahead. We have a bunch more days like the one we've had. And I'm not sure. Even today, they ask if she's going to, when are they going to have the vote? And she says, well, that's up to the committees. That's up to the other people. We haven't decided to vote on it yet. You haven't decided to vote on it yet. I'll bet you she had to twist a lot of arms and bop a lot of heads to get the 232 votes. She still didn't get all of her members. And she's got two of them that voted no. Oh, and Kevin McCarthy, lo and behold. So Kevin McCarthy, the Republican minority whip, the leader of the Republicans in the House, he was out saying that, I've got a couple of congressional members that want to switch parties. Yeah, I bet you they're the two people that voted no who were Democrats. And I said, hey, listen, these guys should just switch right now. They're done. They're toast. They're person non grata. But I'm not sure, they did vote for it, right? But I'm not sure this is a great plan for the Democrats. This is it's certainly going to put pressure on the 30 some out seats that Trump won by, I don't know, 20 or 30% in some districts. It's certainly going to put pressure on them. But the other thing is that, so let's say you go ahead and we take it to the Senate. You have Mitch McConnell saying, we're going to have a trial. We're going to have a trial. Really? Well, let me tell you something. The Senate is not like the House. Nancy Pelosi is the third most powerful person in government because she's number 3 in line to the White House. President, White House, Vice President, Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. And so, so she can Bigfoot her members a lot easier than Mitch McConnell can in the Senate. Why do I say that? You had Rand Paul stop a bill the other day. Mitch McConnell's not going to be able to take the senators and basically beat them over the head and beat them into submission. They're going to go, no, I'm a senator, Mitch. No, we're a different class. No, we are going to ask questions. And could you imagine that senators start lining up and asking questions and asking to speak to, which they shut this down. The House asked for all this. They asked for Joe Biden. They asked for Hunter Biden. They've asked for the Eric Charlie. They've asked for all these people to come forward. And hey, what do you bet there's a few more people now that John Kerry and his family got stuff? I mean, this is all about Donald Trump. They're saying he wanted them to do something. He wanted them to go after Vice President Biden. Instead of, he was looking into corruption. He was looking into corruption. I mean, this says it all, doesn't it? Democrats impeach Trump for investigating their political corruption. I mean, and so, and the list is going to go on. Could you imagine having John Kerry have to testify in the Senate? Could you imagine Hunter Biden? He did great on ABC with, what's her name, Robach. Fantastic. How about Joe Biden? How about all these other people that would have to testify? How about Ivanovich getting asked real questions by people about your, surveilling journalists and about your, about do not prosecute list? I think if this does go to the Senate, it would be a bigger disaster than it's already shaping up to be in the House. I mean, people could really they have to investigate what the president was asking about, the corruption, the payoffs, the money. Oh, and let's not forget, Hillary Clinton's global charity fraud got what, $14 million there? Why? I mean, let's not forget that. So could you imagine there actually being a trial in the Senate? Oh, because you're not gonna browbeat Ted Cruz to not ask important questions and call witnesses, and you're not going to browbeat Lindsey Graham on the Justice Committee, the judicial the head of the judicial for the Senate. You're not going to browbeat him into not asking for this whistle, quote unquote, that does not get exemptions under the law. You're not going to get that. You're not going to have Mitch McConnell riding herd over all the senators. It don't happen that way in the Senate. This would be a disaster for the Democrats. And they might not vote on it because of that. Just watch how this shapes up. And if we have more disastrous days like we did on Thursday, this ain't going well for them. It absolutely, and doesn't it look horribly put together? I mean, the two witnesses, the star witnesses, best foot forward. Did you ever talk to the president? No. Did you ever meet the president? No. Were you on the phone call? No. Did you have any firsthand knowledge of anything? No. It's like one of the congressmen making up, I heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend, the REO Speedwagon song, heard it from a friend who, right? It's a disaster. It's a complete disaster. Now I want to get on to some more important stuff that you're being distracted from. So here we have Jay Powell, who tells Congress no more rate cuts. Wow, that's not going to be popular with Donald Trump. No more rate cuts. Why in the world would they say no more rate cuts? Well, this guy, the chairman of the board and the president of Deutsche Bank, which is the world's most systemically dangerous bank. I mean, I can't believe this guy's giving this kind of a thing. This is what happened Thursday, down almost 1% on Thursday. It's now 721. Remember, Charles Nenner talked about Deutsche Bank. When it hits 640, it's going to go to zero. Well, what did it do? It hit 644 a few months ago, and then they propped it back up. Supposedly, I wonder if the repo market isn't in part propping up this systemically most dangerous bank in the world with nearly $50 trillion derivative book. Yeah, they could contain that, couldn't they? I'll get back with that in just a minute. But Karl von Rohr, chairman president, says, listen, he gave a speech a week or so ago and said negative rates, that they're done. We're done with that. That's not helping us. That's a disaster, basically. He did say that the negative rates are no longer effective. And then also monetary policy. Now listen to this. Now this is the guy who's sitting atop of Deutsche Bank. Monetary policy running out of means to cushion real economic crisis. And then you had reports of, this came from Bloomberg, and they said that Bloomberg reported that Deutsche Bank was buying gold. Now listen, that's not a stretch there because many other central banks in the world are buying gold. And then Deutsche Bank walked that back and said, no change in our inventory. There's no change. The Deutsche Bank, the Bundesbank. There's no change in our inventory. No change. And I'm thinking, wow, that's weird. How did Bloomberg get that wrong? And I wonder if the Bundesbank, this was the only country that experienced hyperinflation in the last 100 years. Well, the biggest country, the best known country, let's say that. And one of the few that had this kind of, wheelbarrows full of money. You've all heard the stories about the Reichsmark and the Weimar and the Republic and it, having hyperinflation. You had to have a wheelbarrow full of money to buy bread. And wow, no, they wouldn't be buying gold, would they? And I wonder if they made a mistake. I wonder if Bloomberg got it right from the beginning. And I wonder if they walked it back. Because after all, the new head of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, Christine Lagarde, was complaining to central banks about how, you could be putting that money to better use than buying gold. Well, gold would be a pretty good deal if it does what Jim Rickards says. It'd be $10,000 and it's $1,470 or whatever it is right now. And plus it could be the only asset worth having, only, a movable, a tangible, physical asset as opposed to bonds and euros and marks and, whatever, dollars, treasuries. And so, Deutsche Bank, folks, this is what the IMF calls the most systemically dangerous bank in the world. That's why I keep beating this horse, right? It's alive, but barely. And here it's off 1% in a day on Thursday. And when this was a stock that was $119 in 2007. In 2014, just 5 years ago, it was 28 and change. Okay? Now it's barely holding on to a 7 handle. I'm telling you, that's your canary in the coal mine. If they lose control of this, remember, this isn't just Deutsche Bank. This isn't just it can go out of business and lay off a few people. It's got nearly 50 trillion in derivative overhang. And so I just wonder if some people said, oh, well, Rob Kirby got that wrong. Well, no, it was reported. And Bloomberg, the Bundesbank, the German central bank, walked it back. And I wonder if that's true. I can't disprove it. But how did Bloomberg, the experts in reporting on everything money, get something like that wrong? I don't know. But let me tell you something. Things aren't going well, and rich people around the world know it, okay? And remember, this whole impeachment thing doesn't add to the financial stability. Remember, the president was talking about how, this could really destabilize the country. And, that's all stuff we're not getting done in Congress because they're chasing this dog and pony show, this clown show that Schiff is sitting atop of, which is, he looks awful. He even, I know I'm backtracking for a second, but he even said he didn't know who the whistleblower was. You lied about meeting the whistleblower. Stone Cold, he did lie. And now he's saying that he doesn't know who the whistleblower is. Oh, stop. What a blatant lie. And this is the kind of stuff that builds instability. Doomcuffs like Adam Schiff leading a big committee that looks stupid and moronic. Some of the world's, I brought this up, with Kirby, some of the world's richest brace for a major sell-off. And this was a UBS wealth management poll. And why are they even doing the poll? Wealthy people around the globe are hunkering down for a potentially turbulent 2020, according to UBS Global Wealth Management. What gave them the bright idea to even ask about that? It was about 55% said, oh yeah, it's going to get bad. Yeah, oh yeah, Wall Street wouldn't front run that trade. Wouldn't do it before 2020, would they? No, of course not. You also have people like this. So we just had Rob Kirby on saying, I think it's a couple of weeks away. I think it's just a few weeks away. I really worry because they're doing crazy things. Bull Pony thinks it's going to be before now and the end of the year. Actually, he thinks the crash will happen in November. Now, I'll talk about that in just a minute. But here we have, these guys are in good stand. Here we have Ray Dalio. He has Bridgewater Capital, or Bridgewater, the hedge fund. The world has gone mad and the system is broken. Wasn't that what the DB guy, the Deutsche Bank guy, just said? That we couldn't fix monetary policy, couldn't fend off another real financial calamity? Right? Well, here's a guy running a $160 billion fund. Okay? And he writes a thing, it ends up in LinkedIn. Dalio says, unsustainable and certainly can no longer be pushed as it's been pushed since 2008. We got an 11-year expansion, the longest on history. That's why I believe the world is approaching a big paradigm shift. You mean a crash? You mean we're finally going to throw our hands up in the air and say this debt's never going to be repaid? You mean that? If you look at the repo market, it's been kicked into overdrive. Nuts. Crazy time. Kicked into overdrive. And then we add that to the additional, and this is what's known. This is the overt side of the money printing. We also have the covert, the 21 trillion, and the covert ops in the financial world that's run by the ESF and the Treasury and the Federal Reserve with their trading desks and all the, the volume discounts at the CME and blah, blah, blah. But the overt, what's happening, 80 billion, 70 billion, 100 billion, 120 billion, overnight money. Banks don't trust each other. They don't trust the collateral. The Fed has to get in there. On top of the $60 billion a month they've decided to start doing. And then you have Powell saying, we're not going to lower rates anymore. Well, wow, the guy at Deutsche Bank, the president of Deutsche Bank, is telling you why. This isn't working anymore. Buying bonds, lowering rates, negative interest, we're at the end. So why would Powell lower rates? That's another sign, I think, that it's not going to do any good, so F it. We're just going to at least suck in as much money as we can because everybody else is at zero. The rest of the central banks around the world, a negative. And so something I wanted to share with you that Pony sent me, and I have a link in after the interview or after the wrap-up section. And I wanted to start with this right here. Just so you know, Pony came on election day, midterm election day, right after the midterm elections, it said that gold was going to go up. Well, here it is on a chart. Here is his appearance. I looked it up. Gold's at 1275. He says gold's going to go up. And then now it's been this consolidation phase in here. I'll show you more about that in just a minute. Okay? So this is his call. He said gold is going to go up right here. Boom. Right? And it was pretty much languishing in the $1,200 range, and here we have a $280 some odd increase in gold. This is Pony, okay? He also said there'd be no crash in October. He said there wouldn't be any crash, but before the end of the year, and really I think September. And he said, like what happened last year, we had a peak in October, and then we had a crash going into fall. Nobody got that but him. He came on, and he's on record. Not going to crash in October. And he said this time too, not going to crash in October. And last year, he said it peaked in October, and just before Thanksgiving, that's when things went absolutely haywire. But let's just look at this real quick. So here we have, this is 2018, right? So we got this long run up all the way up into here. I'm sorry, I cut my finger, but it'll be okay. It looks worse than what it is. And so here we have it tops in October, and then this right here, this big spike down here, is then it starts going down after the spike in October and into November. And he said we would crash going into the fall. And sure enough, and this is right here. Hold on. This is right here. And this is just before Thanksgiving right here. This big time. And he says, hey, man, this pattern is happening again, but it's about 6 weeks pushed back. So here it is now. So doesn't that look about the same? It looks about the same. This upward motion going here. You know, upward, 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 just like here. Upward, 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 upward. And then all of a sudden, boom. And so here we are here, okay? And now he said this would peak in November, this time. He said, and then we're going to get a crash going right into Thanksgiving, just like here, crash in that Thanksgiving. He says that's where he thinks we are. Now he's out on a limb here, saying that we're peaking right now. We're not going to go much higher. We're peaking here, and it's going to crash going into Thanksgiving. It certainly will crash, he says, before the end of the year. That's what he says. So, I mean, and he says also in the gold market, he says, if you look at the gold market, he says, now here's the place where, here's where we are. This is where we are with that languishing. This is the other chart. Goes up to 1557, and it just kind of languishes downward in this channel right here. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's going to go up. That's the bottom. And he thinks 1445 was the bottom, and he thinks it's going to go up again. He's making another call that we've already seen the bottom, and we're going to go. This is the same thing that he called before. He thinks his charts are saying gold and silver are getting ready to have another nice little run upward. So, there you have it. But listen, you have Rob Kirby and Bull Pony saying they both think something's going to break soon. Pony says because of the charts and the timing. Rob Kirby says because of the crazy stuff they're doing in the markets. You have other big name people, Dalio, the president of Deutsche Bank, saying that our monetary policy can't fix the next real economic crisis. And Dalio saying that there's a paradigm shift. So, folks, I think this theater in impeachment, this crazy is really a fight over who's going to control it all after it blows up. I think everybody knows it's going to blow up. Everybody knows that. We're in the 11th year we started the 11th year of an expansion, the longest one ever. It's not going to go forever. This is about who is going to remediate, who's going to take care of how things are going to be distributed in the future after it blows. And it could get ugly, folks. I mean, it really can. Here we have this. This is not a very good piece of news if you love freedom and all the amendments. Supreme Court, they didn't really rule. This is a Huffington Post. They just didn't accept the case. Supreme Court rules Sandy Hook parents' lawsuit against Remington can move forward. Some of this is about how they marketed the gun and things like that. But I think this is just merely an end run, an attack on the Second Amendment. That's what I think. And so you have Remington hoped to have the lawsuit dismissed by arguing it should be protected by a 2005 federal law that prevents most lawsuits against gun manufacturers from going forward when their weapons are used in a crime. But evidently, not in this case. And that doesn't mean the Supreme Court wouldn't hear it in the future. But, they want us disarmed. And that's one of the things that the Democrats are pushing because, they're Marxist, communist, National Socialist. They're a little bit of all of it. Globalists, New World Order, Satanists. That's the Democrats. Kill babies when they're outside the womb if you don't want it and you intended to abort it. I mean, these are the Democrats. They have no good ideas other than we want to take your guns and raise your taxes. Because, once we start doing awful things to you, we don't want you to be armed. That's what we have going on in the country, folks. That's really what we have going on. I just wanted to thank you all for your support, especially with what Google has been doing with not monetizing my videos until later. I did have one monetized, after only a few thousand views. That's okay. That's not a big, huge loss. But I don't know what's going on with that. I do want you to know that I own USAWatchdog.com. This is for people who are on the YouTube channel. And if someday I get poof, be gone, I'm done, I'll always own USAWatchdog.com. Now, a lot of people are YouTube stars, but they never took the time to have a .com. I took the time. I work on that site more than anywhere. The write-throughs are longer. There's more information. There's more links. The stuff I put on the site is because I own that. Basically on YouTube, I'm a squatter. Just remember USAWatchdog.com. watchdog.com. I also have my join button at the top middle of the page. I don't have a newsletter. I don't sell anything. I use that for promotional stuff, which I haven't done for a while. For you people who have signed up, you've not been shortchanged. The button works. I use it for special promotional stuff. And once in a while, my only sponsor on the site, Discount Gold and Silver Trading, will come up with a deal. She almost came up with quarter ounces for the same commission as an ounce gold. So 4 quarter ounces. The same commission as a 1 ounce coin. Usually pay commission per coins, right? She said a deal fell through, and I'll think about something else. But I have her on the site, and I do this for her for free. I don't make anything when I send out that email. I think I got 19 or 20,000 people. I don't make anything. I do it because she's a good sponsor, and I never hear complaints. And when I first started 5 years ago, I said, listen, if I start getting complaints, I'm going to take your check. I'm going to take however much money you have left. I'm going to write a check. I'm going to send it back to you and say, thank you. I'm taking your stuff off my site. And I haven't had to do that. Actually, I haven't had a single complaint. I'm sure I'll have one complaint, but she really strives at trying to be honest. And I'm not under any obligation to pitch her. But anyway, the long and short of it is I appreciate your support with the donations you give me, especially with all this lack of monetization and giving it back to me after tens of thousands of views. I appreciate that. Appreciate your comments. I appreciate that a lot. I appreciate the interplay. I appreciate people being on there. Heck, we even have our own, assigned troll to USA Watchdog. Folks on USA Watchdog, you know who that is. Thank you very much for supporting USA Watchdog. And the line that would get me fired on network television is, fear not, prepare yourself mentally, physically, and above all, spiritually. Fear not, God the Father and Son, Jesus Christ, are firmly in control. Again, thank you for supporting USAWatchdog.com.